Hello, Amplify You. Michelle Abraham, your host here today. Have I got an awesome Ask the Expert interview for you today? Today I'm joined by Jan Burl. Jan is, she lives in Northern New York. She is an author, artist, international motivational speaker, poet, lover of the mountains and dragons. She is physically challenged from her hemorrhagic stroke, but finds beauty and inspiration in everything. She tells everyone, make every day an extraordinary day, which I absolutely love too. Thank you, Jan, for being here with us today. It is my pleasure and honor to have you on our show. So let's say hi first. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Michelle? Nice to see you today.
Awesome. So great to see you as well. So you were just telling me you're working on a new chapter of your book. Do you want to tell us what you're working on?
Sure. I have a historical romance. It's pretty clean, so it's not hot and heavy. It's about a gal in Scotland who has given up on men, and it's about a guy from England who goes around and does travel writing about where he's been, and they meet because he wants her to publish his articles because she's a once a month author. Oh my gosh, I can't think tonight. She works at a magazine that comes out once a month, and he wants to get his articles out.
Cool.
So he ends up chasing her all around. In the meantime, she's in this old castle that's kind of falling down, but she's found a mirror. There's something unusual about the mirror. It's just hooked onto the stone wall by a peg and wire, but when you look into it, it shows you your past lives.
Cool.
And the funny thing is, the two of them are always together. She hasn't met him yet, but she sees two of her lives. So when they finally meet, oh my gosh, she's like hit and taken aback, and he's like, what's wrong with her? And well, anyway, it goes back and forth between present day and further back in her life, whether she's a man or a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And it finally ends itself in 2000 BCE China, which is the last chapter I'm trying to figure out.
Cool. Well, that sounds fascinating. And will we be able to find out more about it on your website, Thundercrest Books?
It's mentioned, but I'm going to try to find a publisher for it next year.
Cool.
It's just only a couple days away, really.
Right, exactly. Well, I know you have other books over on your website, and so we can send people over there to go check them out. Do you want to share a little bit about your other books?
Well, my first children's book, Tippy's New Friend, is out. It's about a lonely dragon who happens to see a garden full of dragon figurines. So she stops to take a closer look, and she meets Lana, who is a social studies teacher of junior high kids in New Hampshire, and Lana's dog, Tippy. My dog is Tippy. And although the meeting is a little bit odd because, there's a dragon, they get to be friends, and she takes them on a trip. They're flying up through New York into Canada, into Nova Scotia, and all across Iceland and Greenland, over to Norway, and back across the ocean to Maine, and finally back home to New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. There's a map in the back of the book so children can draw out the trip that they took and know where the places are that they were flying over.
What a cool
and the next book in that series is Tippy Goes to California, where we meet my friend, and he takes us around to see the glass beach and see the redwoods, and even go up into the mountains, the Sierra Nevadas, and we go belly sledding on a dragon.
Oh, cool. So fun. Well, were you a writer all your life, or is this something that you've just done newly in the last few years?
I've been a poet all my life, but writing books and stories, I've told stories, but never written them down. So this is new for me. But I went to college. After my stroke, I got myself back together. When I had it, I couldn't talk. I couldn't read, couldn't write, couldn't move. It was pretty bad. And they didn't expect much of me. But I did manage to get myself walking. So I went back to school to be a substitute teacher and an interim teacher. And wouldn't you know it, although the doctors had given up on me after 12 months, the kids didn't. And they would come in. I still couldn't read. They would write the teacher's directions on the board for me. And when we were in class, they all would read out loud and make sure I was following along. And they would come in on their periods off to help me with classes, or they would come in on my periods off and make me talk and make me walk. And they are the reason that I got to where I am.
I bet.
I mean, they even walked around the school with me.
No, how special. But that's so amazing. That gives you faith in youth again, right?
Yes, it does. Well, they felt power too, because they were teaching a teacher.
Yeah, that's
exciting.
And they were helping change someone's life too. They were helping you, get your mobility back. And oh my gosh. So they must have been a large part of your motivation for keeping going then, were they?
Completely, yes. Them, and also the teachers I had one come up to me and he said, I was having a pretty bad day today, but then I saw you and I thought, my problems aren't really that bad. And look at you still fighting through yours. So I guess I made some people feel more appreciative of things, which is a good thing to do.
Absolutely. Having and being a role model for other people, and having the courage to now share your story too. So you're speaking on stages and on podcasts about your story. What were some of the key things that helped you keep going in you? So just thinking to our listeners at home right now who are maybe wanting to share their message and their story with the world, but maybe they haven't had the courage to do so yet. Do you have any words of wisdom for them?
You have to be honest. You have to be able to look at someone and say, yes, I became addicted to pain medicine because the pain was so severe. And yes, I had depression issues badly. Mm-hmm. And despite it all, I kept pushing through, and I managed to end up going back to college and getting my master's degree in creative writing.
Amazing.
So it's a fight. It is. And it really is painful. And don't hide your feelings from your doctor, and don't hide your feelings from the people that you're out among, because if you're having a bad day, it's very hard to enunciate that and let the kids know that, oh my gosh, I'm trying, but it's a rough day. But when I told them, they understood, and it was like, oh, okay. So be honest, be authentic.
And I think by you doing that, you're giving them permission to do that in their own lives too, I would imagine.
Yep.
Yeah. How cool is that? And so many times people would have just given up and, being told that you only have 26% chance of surviving the type of stroke that you have. Most people, I would say a lot of people will probably just pack it in and call it a day. And yet you kept going. So when people are at that moment in challenging spaces in their lives, what were some things that helped you keep going? You were just mentioning being honest. Obviously, that's one of them.
Yeah. I didn't want to end up a couch potato, which actually only 5 of us out of the 26 that survive end up with any kind of a meaningful life, because the pain is so severe, but it only hurts if you move.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then when you don't use things, they atrophy. And that is not only muscles and tendons, it's also your brain.
Yeah.
And with neuroplasticity, the brain is able to make new pathways. Some of them work, some of them don't. I've had some odd pathways that the brain tried and, well, they closed those down pretty fast. But you just have to keep moving and have to keep using anything you can. And for me, it was the kids. They made me walk. Yeah. I still don't have much use of my right arm and hand. I can move my shoulder up and down, but that's about it so far. There is never an end to this. The recovery is a lifetime journey. So, and my dream is to change the 5% that make a good recovery to a larger number. I'd like them to know that they have options, that I'm there if they need to talk. And that's the one thing that's hard for me, because I can't make up a set course, because every single person with traumatic brain injury or a stroke are different and they suffer different things. So I figure instead of writing down stuff like that, I'd rather do one-on-one with them so that we can focus on them.
Yeah, and it'll be super customized, I'm sure. As one, thing that you experienced in your life, being the stroke, has then probably changed the trajectory of where your life has gone and kind of opened new doors to new ways of doing business or having a meaningful life, as you were saying. And it's like, how can you then help other people figure out what that is for them, like you've done? So like, I think doing the children's books and the romance books, I think obviously the creative writing has been a really great outlet for you. How would you suggest other people find that, what's that spark for them?
Positivity. And from there, the spark can be anything. It can be writing. It can be doing artistic things. I paint, but I painted with my right hand. So starting to do something like that again was very daunting. And I started by sketching. Or it could be getting out, even if you're in a wheelchair, and traveling. If you don't want to fly, fine. Have someone go with you and take you on rides to different areas. Don't just sit in the house. Get out, see the world. It's important.
Yeah, that's great advice. I love it. Anything you'd like to share anything else you'd like to share with our podcasters? I mean, he's sitting at home thinking about sharing their message with the world.
Well, just what I said. You have to make every day an extraordinary day. You have to, when you get up in the morning, your first thoughts color your whole day. So I get up, I make my bed. That way I'm set for the morning. Anything that comes my way, I can handle. But if I wake up and I'm kind of off, the day is kind of off.
Okay.
So I try to always think of good things. And it's important to remember that you are chosen because you are still alive.
Yes. And, I was listening back to some of the podcast interviews you've done in the past, and one of the titles of one of them was your stroke of genius. And we like to say at Amplify You that your uniqueness is your genius. And so having this as part of your story and staying positive and keeping moving forward is definitely your zone of genius now. And I think that you're so inspiring, and your message is going to carry on to inspire other people. I like what you say about getting up first thing in the morning, and just by making your bed makes you feel accomplished already, right? So I know I feel different when I don't make my bed in the morning versus when I do. It's that first sense of accomplishment gets you going on the right track for your day. Yeah.
But you can have bad days. And you know what? If you go in your room and you cry, because sometimes you just wonder, why me? Why do I have to deal with so much? Go to bed, curl up, go to sleep. And then when you wake up in the morning, it's so much better. It's always better the next day.
And I would say it's also probably better to let it out and experience that emotion, move through it, rather than keeping it bottled up and tucked back down inside of you.
Exactly. And writing my book on stroke survival, writing it, what I was going through every day, and writing my positive thoughts or my, oh gosh, I can't do this anymore. I just don't want this. And it helped get it out. That's why I've always written poetry, because it got out my feelings. So by writing it, you not only help yourself, but there are so many others that have something like it happening to them. And when they see that, oh, wow, they feel that too, or they think that too, it opens things up for other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for being so inspiring, and thank you for sharing with us today. Any last words before we share with our audience where to find out more about you?
Just never give up and make every day extraordinary.
I love those words. Those are great. And we can find more information about you on thundercrestbooks.com. Is that correct?
Yes, I just updated it last night.
All right. Awesome. Well, head over there, Amplify You family. Check out what Jen's up to. Her kids' books are there, and some of her other books that she's working on are also over there. And you can connect with her directly there. Thanks, Jen, so much for being here with us today. Amplify You family. Have an amazing day, and we'll see you again next week.